Good morning and welcome. This is Megan Mansfield from Accordant Company. Thank you for joining us today for our webinar from Sage titled Sage Field Operations and Sage 100 Contractor. Our presenters today are Justin Taylor, Director of Customer Experience, and Eric Diaz, Partner Account Executive for Sage Field Operations. Before we get started, I want to address a few housekeeping items. Everyone is muted for a clean listening experience. If you have any questions, please type them into the questions box. We will collect the questions and address them at the end of the session. For the best viewing experience, please maximize your screen. Today's webinar is being recorded, and a link to the recording will be provided via email. With that, I'd like to turn it over to Justin and Eric.
Great. Thanks so much, Megan, and thank you everyone for your time today. Very much looking forward to walking through the field operations process with you. Big reason why we put this webinar together is because Justin and I hear all the time how contractors like yourself are looking to improve that field operations process and streamlining it to the back office. And specifically, it seems like the majority are in Sage 100 Contractor today, so we're going to do our best to correlate how that would help improve your process with the ERP system today. So Megan already touched upon some of the housekeeping items. Again, my name is Eric Diaz. I'm part of the sales team with Sage Field Operations. Happy to connect at any time to discuss potential areas of improvement after the webinar. Justin, you want to give a quick intro?
Sure, thanks, Eric. My name is Justin Taylor, and I've been here now for a little over 10 years working with Sage Field Operations. Background before that, I worked for an HVAC company for about 11 years in operations, so knew a little bit about the business before I started working with the software, but it's really exciting to get folks from whatever they're on now, if it's paper or something else, into that that nice transition into Sage Field Operations, and you really can see how you'll be able to see how well these can talk back and forth to each other. Thanks, Eric.
Great. Thanks, Justin. Yeah, and Justin's obviously a great resource for us coming from the industry and living the day-to-day operations that many of you are dealing with today. So before we get started here, so some of the industry challenges that we hear on a day-to-day basis, obviously labor shortages, costs are rising. So there's really two types of contractors that we're speaking to today. The ones that are looking to modernize and really get to that digital transformation to help improve those processes and become more efficient, and the ones that are looking to really optimize their staff and use technology to help improve the field and the back office to have those tighter communications where you might be doing things manually or on paper, or they just do not speak together. And then that last bullet point there, the lack of data integrity, really providing stronger reporting for owners and the finance team and so forth, and giving your team time back to their days. So specifically in the labor shortages part, we're looking to improve the technicians' efficiency throughout their day. As Justin will show you in a little bit, they'll have their assignments or their tasks on their mobile devices, so they don't have to necessarily call the office, or nothing's on paper, right? They have that power. It's more of a modern approach for their day-to-day operations. They're able to streamline time and materials, their actual time for the day, so it becomes more of a review process for the back office on the back end there, and therefore becoming more productive on their day-to-day task. So some of the key workflows that we've built out and we'll discuss in Justin's walkthrough of the demonstration, work orders and how that correlates with your budget. We mentioned the time entry to payroll, again, becoming more of a review process, giving time back to your team there, and getting quotes out faster to invoice, which obviously we all want to get paid faster and drive more revenue there. Lastly, before Justin jumps into the demo, I know we have a lot of 100 contractor folks on the line here today, so you could kind of start visualizing those workflows and where they integrate back to the specific applications in 100. You'll see the work orders streamlined back to service receivables, that daily payroll task. If you have estimating and parts, that all correlates with one another. The time entry, again, back to payroll, change orders, invoices, daily field reports, purchase orders, they all sync back and forth bidirectionally. So that being said, I'll hand it back off to Justin to walk through the demo here.
And Megan, if you don't mind just making me the presenter so I could share my screen.
Done.
Beautiful. Beautiful. Thank you. All right, everybody should be able to see my screen now. Eric, can you
Yes,
see it okay? Oh,
we-
beautiful.
We actually see, we're seeing a calendar.
Yep, we can see it.
Perfect.
Okay, awesome. So I always like to start on the dispatch scheduler page and just to talk a little bit more about the integration with 100 and Sage Field Operations. You know, if we hooked up Sage Field Operations to your Sage 100 contractor today, we would right away see all your work orders. We would right away see all your jobs. You know, all that information now is kind of connected to the field piece. And really kind of the way that works is, you know, if I generate a work order in Sage, or if I generate a work order in Sage Field Operations, it's creating the next one in line. So it doesn't matter if I generate it within the accounting system or if I generate it in Sage Field Operations. What we're looking at here is our scheduler, and our scheduler has a few different features. One, we can see all the existing work orders that are on the left column here. I can filter these down by, you know, specific types and service areas and a specific actual site location. By priorities, if I wanted to see all the emergency calls as an example, I can really kind of narrow down what you know the existing work orders are on the left side. And if you look over to the right, we can see you know stuff that's in progress. We can see the gray stuff over here on Monday is the stuff that was completed. We can see that Allison right now, this purple color means she's traveling to the new location. She hasn't started yet. And we kind of see Tiffany here is also working on something right now. This green color means started. And then the outside color is actually the priority. So as you hover over these, you can see they're all the same priority. This is that prompt priority. But if I made an urgent one, it would turn red. We also have the ability to schedule out our vendors and any company-owned equipment that you have. So if you know someone's going to be out on the job site, you just want to make sure you've got something on a calendar showing that vendor or subcontractor is going to be out there. You have the ability to kind of see that on a view as well. And then any of your company-owned equipment, if you wanted to know who's on this specific job site, something along those lines, you'd have the ability to see that on a schedule as well. I can make as many groups as I want. So if I have different folks that are responsible for different people, or say I wanted a dispatch view of just all my company-owned equipment, so I know where that is at all times, it's really kind of things that you can do like that. So coming from the HVAC world, I can't tell you how many like 10-foot step ladders we lost over time. It would have been nice to know where we left it last, as an example. As far as the scheduling itself, it's really easy. If I wanted to reschedule something for someone, or I wanted to assign something to someone, I can just come over to the left side here, drag it over, drop it on their assignment page, and now I just scheduled that work order for Allison for tomorrow. Or if I wanted to reschedule something, say I know Tiffany is going to be working on this call all day, so I want to start bringing stuff over to the next day because I know she's not going to work on it, I can reschedule as well. Or I could reschedule that call to someone else. When I click on the work order, this is where I can really start getting into the detail without having to call up the technician. Any notes and things like that that were added to a work order, I would see here, and all the different details, and if we had created purchase orders and things like that. If I click on the actual location, it brings me right to the history. So now I can see all the times we've been out at this Postmaster Williams location. I can see that there is a job attached to it. I can see that Postmaster Williams has in total 4 different locations. We can see all the attachments that have been added over time. We have the ability to add attachments. So here's an example of that. We also have the ability to create a service report at the end of a call so that someone's signing off on that service report. But if you think about all this stuff, it's really, now we're looking at one centralized location where we can really see all this information. And what we see a lot of folks today doing is, if you're in the office and you're managing the field, or if you're in the field, you really don't have to go to Sage 100 Contractor much. You can really get to this from Sage Field Operations. And the nice thing about that is it's all web-based. So I don't have to remote desktop in if I'm not in the office to get into my Sage 100 to create a work order. I could be in Sage Field Operations. I can look up my location up here on the top in the little search bar, and I can pull up, let's see, who do we want to pull up? Well, actually, we're gonna go to lamp shoes. I'm gonna pull up this location, and from right here, I can generate the work order. So again, don't have to generate it in Sage 100. And then when I come in here, if I do need to associate it with the work order, I can always do that. So I can always tag it with the work order. I'm gonna tag it with the lamp shoes job. A little further down, this is where we're kind of selecting, what kind of call it is, what type it is, and these types would be the ones that you have in your environment, so we would see your types right away. And we'll say that this is service, and I'm going to keep this assigned to Tiffany, but I could really assign this to anybody on the fly that I want to get this. And I'm going to hit generate work order. Oh, give it a description. We'll say no heat since it's starting to get cool. I'm in the Boston area, and the heat definitely kicked on this morning. All right, so we just created a new work order for Tiffany. If we look at the assignment section, we can see that it's, it's assigned to Tiffany. If I go back to my scheduler, we're going to see now that Tiffany has, has that other call there. And, she's kind of rocking and rolling. If I go back to the assignment page, this is now thinking of what the technician sees in the field. And I'm actually going to make this look like the phone, because that's what 65% of the users today are using is that view on the phone. So if I come in here, perfect. This is what it's going to look like when they log in on their phone. And we have a little over 30,000 users today using Sage Field Operations, and 65% of those are on the phone. The next biggest percentage is the desktop, which is usually around 30%. And then the remainder is actually tablets. So back in the day, tablets definitely were number one, but today we really kind of see the phones because they're always in someone's pocket. And that's the one that people are using the most. And then we can tell by the people using the desktop that there's a lot of people using the dispatch scheduler and creating work orders and really managing the team, from Sage Field Operations. So here we can see the different things that Tiffany is assigned to. Tiffany, she can see that she was on a call on Monday, and now we can see the ones that are on the schedule for today. I can go into these assignments and go right into the actual assignment of the call, and I can start this or complete this. And we'll say that we are traveling. So we're traveling to the job right now. And then I have the ability after travel to start the assignment and complete the assignment. Now, I don't have to do that. The nice thing about doing the travel, the start, the completed, is now you don't have to call someone to figure out what they're doing. If you quickly look back at the scheduler, and I come over here, we can see that started color. So we can see that purple is the started color, so we know what's working. And hey, Tiffany, I see you started one. Did you forget to complete this one? Oh, I did. Well, as the dispatcher, I could actually complete this for them, or I could ask them to complete it. And that start to complete can actually be their time entry. That could be what's calculated for, I got there at 7:03 and I left at 11:14 and the time in between. They can do that, or they have the ability to add 2 hours, 4 hours to a work order if you don't want it to be the punch in, punch out. A lot of folks I see will still use the punch in and punch out so that they can, without having to call someone in the field, they know which ones are being worked on, they know which ones have been completed, and then we kind of know which ones we still need to get to. So when I close this, I'm just refreshing it real quick, we can see that that one is now completed to turn that gray color. And we can see the one that Tiffany started working on. Also, I'm going to jump back to that technician view again. When I'm in here, I also have the ability to, when I'm in a work order, and I'm going to talk about jobs a little bit too, because I know some folks probably are working on the job cost piece as well, and we really can see both on one screen, which is awesome. I can schedule a job out, or I can schedule a work order out, or a work order attached to a job. I can actually schedule out a miscellaneous assignment as well. So if it's not going towards a job or a work order, some kind of unapplied time, they have a way to put their time in for that also. One of the things that happened as I completed that is that it shows the time here on the right. So we can see that now Tiffany has 3.15 hours of time so far today from when she started the punch till she completed it. And now she's traveling to her new job. Come into the work order. Let's go to the notes tab. And let's make this the phone view so we can see what that looks like again. So I'm on my computer, I'm on my phone, and I need to add notes to a work order. Now they have two places to add notes. They have the place that the customer is going to see, and they have a place that is, excuse me, the customer is going to see, and then an internal note section. And you can actually decide if the blue one is customer viewable and the yellow is internal in your environment. You could change it however you'd like it to be viewed. We also have the ability, and this is that time savings piece, we have the ability to add canned responses to a work order. So that one's kind of small, but you think about any of the standard descriptions that folks are writing down as they're doing work today. If there's any of those that are common, in my HVAC world, that came from the HVAC world, if we replace the condenser fan motor, replace the compressor, a lot of the details are the same. We might add something specific to make it specific to the account, but if I can give them those canned responses, and it's something they can select, and it's going to type out everything for them. The grammar is going to be right. We're sending the kind of a consistent message to our customers. It's kind of a win for everybody, right? We know that one of the most challenging things to do is get the paperwork back to the office, get the paperwork in the field. The other nice thing is, as they save this, you can see this in Sage, you can see this here, and I could also have it set up so that if I wanted this to go to the dispatcher right away as I submitted these notes, so they get an email with an alert, or if I wanted it to go to, I have a salesperson, or I can have as many people listed below here as I want. So it could be my service manager, it could be, my project manager, whoever it is. When I'm adding these notes, if I want someone to get that note right away, I just have to select them. And I could even have it automatically checked off so that someone's always getting the note if you wanted. Just a little bit more about the work order, because this is, the goal here is to just kind of give you a good overview of it. But we also have the ability within the work order to create a purchase order. So if you need to create a purchase on the fly, pick up supplies from a supply house, we can create those from the field. We can decide who does and who does not have the ability to create purchase orders. So it's not like all of a sudden everybody can. You're deciding that. You can also start a new quote from here. So if you have any kind of deficiency that you want to quote out to the customer, they can log in all the information from the field. It's a compressor. It needs the compressor, the dryer, the refrigerant. They can list all that stuff and send it to the office so that the office can finish the quote and send it to the customer. You can also, if anybody is, not only do I want to know about a location, but I also want to track the piece of equipment that we're working on at that location, you can associate a work order with a piece of equipment, or you can add a new piece of equipment if there isn't an existing one there already. So there's a way to really kind of, create that history by piece of equipment. I'm going to go to the bigger view. I don't want to make everybody squint forever. So if we're looking at this work order right now, actually, let me go back one section. So we can see the completed one. We can see the travel one. From in here, I can start this call now. So I'm going to finish traveling. I'm going to start this. And then here's kind of an option. Am I just using this as kind of telling the office that I've started and I've completed, or is this something that's going to really go to my pay? So I could actually save it and have it go to the payroll side as well. But also in here, inventory items, things like that. We see all the parts that are in Sage 100 Contractor. So if you're coming in here and you're going to add inventory, we're going to see all those within Sage. We see assemblies as well. We also have obviously a miscellaneous section, so you can just write something in if it's not inventory, if you guys aren't using inventory. As soon as I select a part, I can put the quantity in, and this is actually pulling from Sage 100 Contractor. So if you had it set up that there was more than just a warehouse and you had folks' inventory locations as their trucks or something like that, we would see that inventory as well, and you could pull from the specific truck. And you can just add your line item. So I grabbed a line item here, and I'm just going to say, save that, and we just pulled from inventory. Again, we have the write-in section where I could write in a miscellaneous item. And then at the end of the call, actually, let's add a couple pictures first. I also have the ability to add those attachments. So I can add an attachment at a few different levels, but we're going to go with this one here. This is actually the after picture. I just wanted to add these to kind of show you a couple things you can do with attachments. Now, attachments live in two spots, right? I can add them here, and they can automatically push to Sage 100 Contractor, or if I had added attachments in Sage 100 Contractor and I wanted to see them here, I'm going to see them in both spots. I just added these two, and the reason I wanted to do this is if I go quickly to that service report at the end of the call, and I wanted to create a service report, I can actually embed those 2 pictures, and I can embed up to 4 pictures within a service report, but I can embed them in right here so I can say, hey, this is what it started to look like before the fence, and here's what it was looked like after everything was built. Or any kind of workflow that you want to show while they're working on the work order that day, they would be able to show up to 4 pictures. I can add more pictures as attachments as I send out the service report to the customer, but we can actually embed up to the 4 within. Another really helpful feature, we get a lot of great feedback on this, is the sketch piece. If there's any pictures that we really want to, hey, I took this picture and I want to show the office of the customer, what happened or what I'm trying to point out in a specific picture, I can draw on that picture and show point. So this is a doggy door that we added so they can come out here and not go in the whole yard. But just think about being able to point something out, or I could change colors here. Hey, we got to get rid of this over here. This isn't going to be here anymore, and we're going to do something down here on the ground. Picture someone on their phone, actually with their finger, kind of drawing on a picture to either send to the office, hey, this is what we found. We were out here. We need to address this, or just any kind of scenario where they can really sketch on the picture. And I can give this some comments, give it a title, and I could actually send this right out via email to someone right away. If I don't put an email in there, it's just going to save as an attachment to the work order. So on the attachment world, I just added some pictures, and then we just added that sketch, but you can add documentation too, Excel spreadsheets and Word documents and plans, things like that. So if they need access to some of that information from the office scope of work, this would be a way that they would be able to get that information. So again, a centralized location where we can get to this information. Even if you added it in Sage and they needed to see it in the field, they would be able to see it in the field, as long as the settings are turned on right. On the job side, I just want to make sure we talk a little bit about that as well. You see a whole bunch of a job. So if I go into let's go into my lamb shoes here, and just kind of talk about all the things that talk back and forth between Sage 100 and Sage Field Operations. So in here, I'm looking at my job 220, and first thing we can see is that we've been out here 400 times. We can see all the purchase orders that have been created for this job. We could actually add, depending on the credentials I have or privileges, we could add a purchase order. We can see all the work orders that are attached. Whether I'm creating a daily field report or an RFP or an RFI or a change order in here or within Sage 100 Contractor, they're talking to each other and creating them on, basically they're creating them on the Sage 100 side, and we're just seeing them automatically as they're created, and we see them over here as well. Those are all real and can be updated in real time on both sides. Just like on the work order, we have an attachment section at the job level as well, so you can get into adding pictures and documentation, scope of work, stuff like that. If you're in a daily field report, just to give you an example of what this is like. If you're in a daily field report, this is where you're going to list, for one, you're going to see who was working on it that day. You have a place to add your notes. You have a place to add subcontractors. So how long were they there and whatnot. Any equipment operation time, you can list, runtime and things like that. You also have a report section where you create that field report, kind of like we did on the service side, for the, someone on the job to sign off on maybe before the end of the day kind of thing. They have that ability as well. Also within the reports tab, and this is something again that's actually in both the work order and the job side, is we have the ability to create what we call our core forms within Sage Field Operations. So if you have a safety checklist or something like that you want someone to fill out every day on the job site, I could have that form listed. They could come into the safety form. Again, if this was on a phone, it would look like this, pretty nice. This is what they're going to be able to fill out. So just kind of all the different, this is our safety form that we kind of added here. And sometimes it's as easy as yes and no. This form can be required, so they have to finish it. Specific areas within the form can be required to be filled out, or they wouldn't be able to save it. But we have things like you can add a sketch, like we were just kind of showed you there, the sketch feature. But you can also have sign off on this. You can have, you can actually save it as a draft. So if they're filling out something and it's going to take another day before they're complete with their work and they're going to fill out more tomorrow, they could save this as a draft and they could reopen it tomorrow and keep going. This form can be set to email to someone right away in the office. So I think about, each person going out to the job site and filling out that safety form, they save it. Great, it saves to the job, it saves to the work order. But also I want to make sure my safety, my safety manager gets that email, for each team that's going out there and doing work, they can get an email automatically as well. So if I go back to my scheduler, I also want to kind of point out that it's not just work orders up on the schedule. So if you look at Dan Foreman, he actually has job assignments assigned to him. And something you can't do at all actually in Sage 100 Contractor is really have a job assignment without a work order attached to it. But we can create that job assignment and we can associate it or assign it to someone. And we can even get down to the cost code. And this is pretty cool, but you can also see your estimated and actual hours, real estimated and actual hours of your job cost budget right within Sage Field Operations. So as we're putting time towards these cost codes, those are going to whittle down. But if I wanted to say, schedule this wall framing out for Dan on Friday, I would just drag it over, and Dan's now scheduled for Friday for that wall framing piece of that job. I'm going to actually schedule a job to Tiffany as well, so we can kind of see what that looks like on her assignment page. And then we also have that miscellaneous assignment option. So I can go up to this more section, and I really can kind of create 3 different types of assignments: my job, my work order, my miscellaneous. But say like Tiffany has a PTO on Friday, we want to add that so that we kind of see it on the calendar. We've got 8 hours of PTO and save. And now we can see Tiffany has that PTO scheduled for Friday. And on Tiffany's assignment page, we would also see that. So I can see now down the bottom, we've got that miscellaneous PTO time. The job that I assigned to Tiffany, you got all the work orders associated, but you also have the job up top here where we can see it's kind of separated. And Tiffany has the ability to punch in, punch out of this, or add time to a job assignment as well. So let's go into this started one. I'm just going to complete this. Save that one to payroll. So now if we're back on our assignment page, Tiffany's going to have some. She has the 350. Oh, let me just complete this now. I think I stopped the. It might just take a second to update, but it will update every time. The other one is the miscellaneous entry. So if she wanted to put time in either towards, the one that we see that's scheduled for PTO, but say there was something today, there was training, and we just need to track that time as well. And this is again a privilege we can give them. We don't have to, but they could come in and they could, they say they had 1 hour of training this morning, and they just say training here, and they hit save. This creates that assignment and adds it right to the person's day, and we can see that hour of time is there now already. And there's that 0.15 that came in for that punch I did at the end there. So now we can see a daily total of 4.3. We also have the ability to review this time. So we're putting this time in, and actually let me just submit Tiffany's time real quick. So at the bottom, it's the end of the week. We put all of our time in, whether it's work order time or it's job time or miscellaneous time. And all this time right now is going into daily payroll in Sage 100 Contractor as we save it. It's not waiting until I submit this. It's not going all the way to payroll. It's going to that daily payroll section, and then you can create the time card to send it to payroll within Sage 100 Contractor. But all of it's going there in real time. If you were to edit something in daily payroll, it would edit over here in Sage Field Operations. So they're truly talking. But at the end of the week, we want some kind of time card being sent into the office so that we can confirm hours, things like that. And they have the ability to do an electronic time card. And one can be sent to them. You can really kind of have this say whatever you want. This can be, we have, this is what this one's saying, but whatever you kind of want, like we can say that the hours are complete and accurate, whatever kind of verbiage you want to put up top that they're checking off on. They have a place to put miles and some notes. We require a signature before they submit their time, and then they submit their time card. Now, a copy of this, if we choose to, can get sent to the user, and it can also get sent to specific emails or supervisors. So really, wherever this time card needs to go, so that we know they've submitted their time card for the week, it's going to go to those people in the office and the person that's submitting it if you wanted to. When I go into time review now, let's go here. I guess we got this. That should show it all. And I go to apply here, and we go to Tiffany. She's down the bottom here. but we can see the stuff that says submitted, that's for the current week. We can see stuff that's not submitted as well, that she hasn't submitted her time yet for. But any of these I can come into, as their supervisor, I need those right privileges, but I can come in here and I can edit this information. So if they selected the wrong pay type, or it's the wrong hours, or it was the wrong, it was the wrong cost code on a job, I really have the ability to edit this and approve it before someone is really kind of doing that final approval within Sage 100 Contractor. But I've got that visibility from within the field. And say I came into this one down the bottom that we put in that that Tiffany submitted, I can say approve here. And a little bit further down, we can see that there's some from Angie, and I can come in here and I could say approve of the comment. But when I approve these, this is the approve of the comment where you could write something in. It's going to show that it's been approved as well. As you can see, these ones here have been completed. So just a way to really kind of have a view that you don't have to go into the office to see this time, or you're not getting a paper timesheet coming in. All the time is in one spot. Now, a technician is not going to be able to go to the time review section. I have the right privileges set up with the user that I'm logged in as right now to be able to get to this time review. If I was a straight technician, most likely I'm just going to see my assignment page. I'm not going to see all the other stuff. But as an office user or an admin, you kind of have access to all the information. So that's really that's a good overview of what we do. And I think the key things to think about is we're not doing, double entry. I put something in Sage Field Operations, it's going into Sage 100 Contractor, or vice versa, right? I'm adding it in Sage. I'm going to see it in Sage Field Operations so that I'm not waiting for that information. I think about those forms, HVAC world, folks were always filling out like PM sheets, and it would take me forever to get those maintenance sheets back. Now I know if they filled them out. I know when they're complete. I can even have it set so that they get emailed to me when they're complete, so I don't have to wait for that information to come back to the office, which is just huge. Having that visibility and seeing purchase orders, or seeing the daily field reports on a job, just all that kind of information, where now we know one place that we can look for this stuff is huge. I used to run around the office looking for the manila folder of the CVS that we were working on, trying to find the history. Now, the folks in the field can have the history, the people in the office have the history, even if they're not, in front of their computer, they could even pull it up on their phone. That's when it really gets cool, is that, you still kind of, you're communicating just like you were, in a sense, as far as the information, as much information, but now it's automatically written down. It's written down once. Now in Sage 100, instead of kind of adding that information and data entry wise, now it becomes a review and edit if needed to process, as opposed to kind of adding all that stuff at the beginning. I think that's a good good overview. Happy to kind of go into more detail with specific folks if they want their own specific demos of this. It's always, I'm trying to talk broad here, but if we're talking to specific, if we're talking to an HVAC company, we're talking to an electrician, or we're talking to someone that really is just on the job side, we can handle all that. And I think it's good to kind of go more in depth for, depending on what type of, what kind of company you are. But that's, I think that's the end.
Well, great. Thank you, Justin. We have one question in the questions box. The question is, can the inventory feature be connected to a barcode system?
We do have barcoding as well. We can associate either a barcode or the QR code to either inventory or actually equipment, so that we could associate that. So yes, that we can do.
Excellent. Are there any other questions? If anybody has any questions, please type them into the questions box now for either Justin or Eric. I do not see any other questions generating. So if not, we will conclude the webinar. Thank you, Justin. Thank you, Eric. And thank you, everyone, for joining us. Oops, wait a minute. One more. Can subcontracts be linked in addition to POs?
No, subcontracts do not.
Okay. Again, maybe I'll give it one more minute for more questions. I apologize for almost cutting us short. No other questions being generated. So again, if you have questions, please reach out to us. And with that, we will conclude the webinar. And thank you again for joining us.
Thank you, everybody. Really appreciate your time today. I know it's hard to get over here, so thank you very much.
Thank you again. Bye, everyone.